This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's take a look at some of our top stories of the day. Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying there is no intention to ban cryptocurrencies just now. Instead, Powell telling a House subcommittee that, quote, stablecoins are like money market funds or bank deposits and to some extent outside of the regulatory perimeter. He continues, nevertheless, that, quote, it's appropriate that they be regulated. Meanwhile, El Salvador President Nayib Bukele announcing that drivers can get a discount on gas when purchasing with the government-run Bitcoin Chivo wallet. Starting today, El Salvador will sell each gallon of fuel at a 20-cent discount to battle international gas price increases, reduce supply chain costs, and promote the use of Bitcoin. And finally, Elon Musk is back commenting on Bitcoin at the Code Conference, saying Wednesday, quote, it is not possible to destroy crypto, but it is possible for governments to slow down its advancement. On China's continuing crackdown on crypto, Musk saying China has, quote, significant electricity generation issues and crypto mining may have contributed to ongoing power outages. All right, so with that, let's take a look at Bitcoin for a live look. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is now shooting up almost 7% over the past 24 hours, trading at 44,079 or so.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
So Bitcoin looking bouncy today thanks to renewed speculation that the U.S. could soon approve exchange-traded funds on Bitcoin futures. And the consensus in the crypto market is that an ETF would become the most important source of demand from yield-hungry institutional and traditional market investors. This chart using ByteTree asset management data showing Bitcoin held by funds in green alongside Bitcoin price in blue. Earlier in the year, Bitcoin's price high coincided with funds buying up BTC. Bitcoin ETFs and funds now own around 800,000 BTC, amounting to 4.3% of the total supply. Compare that to 2019, when funds just held about 250,000 BTC, according to ByteTree. Stack Funds noting, quote, there is some newfound optimism around the launch and approval of an ETF in the United States. Indeed, SEC Chair Gary Gensler reiterating support Wednesday for a narrow class of Bitcoin ETFs that would invest in futures contracts instead of buying BTC directly. Canada's decision to approve a multi-cryptocurrency ETF that holds Bitcoin and Ether may have added more fuel to the fire. The SEC's final decision on several Bitcoin ETF applications and a first response on futures-based ETFs is due next quarter. And now joining us to discuss more Bitcoin news and price analysis is Justine Chu, Senior Trader and President at Wave Financial. Hey there, Justin. Good to have you on the show. So why are we seeing this bounce in Bitcoin in your view? Do you think it's because of this Bitcoin ETF anticipation?
Hi, Christina. Yeah, thanks for having me back. I do think that some of this news is related to, or this market movement is related to, the sort of good news that Gary is allowing ETFs to use Bitcoin futures. Also, some of this movement is also from, not bad news coming out from whenever Gary and Jerome Powell start speaking. But definitely ETFs are looking good. We kind of expect that ETFs, if they're going to be using Bitcoin futures are going to be moving a lot faster than spot, but it'll help, they shouldn't be moving in tandem together.
You mentioned no news is good news, but also not saying anything bad is good news. So Fed Chair Jerome Powell isn't going to go after Bitcoin, but there seems to be some signaling that he may be going after stable coins. And Senator Cynthia Lummis also seems to believe that stable coins should be audited. Do you agree? And what impact do you think this news will have on the markets?
Honestly, it's kind of, I might be in a small camp here, but it's good that Gary isn't going, or Jerome isn't going after cryptos in general, but we probably would like to see some regulation in the stablecoin side. just to make sure that they are actually backed by dollars or some sort of asset, and that it actually is worth, one stable coin is worth hypothetically $1 and is commensurate with, the crypto markets that we engage in. So, just some more transparency behind, if it actually is worth what it is would put a lot of confidence in the market as well.
Right. It seems to be, in comparison to, say, China, the United States is looking for regulatory clarity. They're not looking to stamp out Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. In that vein, Elon Musk made some comments, and I'm wondering if you see, he said that it's not possible for governments basically to ban Bitcoin, but they can certainly slow them down. So when you look at China and the headwinds ahead for Bitcoin, do you see people in China basically exiting the market altogether or finding another way to use Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies?
No, I don't think they'll stop using it altogether. They'll definitely be creative in finding ways how to use, the various networks that support cryptocurrencies. There are, Ethereum is one major one, but so are other networks coming along like Solana and Avalanche, and there are many layer 2 systems. And I don't think, they'll be able to, the Chinese government will be able to gate users on those networks. They'll find ways around VPNs and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And so what opportunities are you seeing in the crypto markets in this volatile time?
Honestly, in my observations, we think the opportunities are in these other layer 1s that are providing DeFi and NFT ecosystems and platforms available, just like Ethereum is. There are going to be lots of lending and borrowing platforms and decentralized exchanges over on the other networks, and over, the test of time, and as their total value locked in those networks goes up, we'll probably be seeing more usage in those, and that's probably where the opportunity lies, is on those layer 1s and the dApps on those layer 1s.
Yeah, we certainly see folks taking advantage of opportunities and other coins, other protocols, DeFi and whatnot. But in terms of Bitcoin, what is your end of year outlook compared to where it's headed next year?
My end of year outlook now is pretty muted. It's done great so far this year, 50% year to date. There's, 3 months left to close out, and anything can happen within 1 week. 3 months is a long time in the crypto space, but there are so many opportunities right now that I think capital is kind of getting redirected, and will probably be within this 50,000 area by December.
Okay, so you're still slightly bullish ahead. All right, Justin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your insights.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That was Wave Financial President Justin Chu. Coming up, more BTC discussion and analysis with Bitwise Asset Management. All right, welcome back. Next week is CoinDesk is hosting Bitcoin for Advisors, and we're going to give you an early preview as my next guest is also one of the speakers at the conference. So joining us now is Hunter Horsley, CEO of Bitwise Asset Management, one of the largest and fastest growing crypto asset managers in the world. Hey there, Hunter. So taking a look at Bitcoin again.
Hey, Christina.
Good to see you. All right, so we're having a narrowing trading range between 40 and 45, though we're seeing a bit of a bounce. What do you think's behind it?
I think there's a steady stream of continued adoption by advisors, by institutions, and that's providing, a bid that keeps moving this thing in the right direction. And I think that's combined with a number of headlines and traders who are, seeing where the levels are. So I think we'll continue up and to the right over a period of time, but there's some choppiness as people are interpreting news day to day.
It's interesting you say that about institutional investors, because there's been some discussion about just how involved are institutions right now. Is it still quite early? What percentage do you think of institutional investors are in crypto versus compared to the total out there?
Yeah, it depends on who you're talking about, but in general, it's so early. We still have conversation. Bitwise is the largest crypto index fund manager in the US. We manage ticker BITW, ticker BITQ. There's a DeFi index fund managing over $1 billion of assets. And we still have conversations regularly with advisors who don't know that index funds exist in the crypto space and who have it on their to-do list to do something in crypto, but haven't quite figured out this. They hear so many things from clients, haven't quite figured out how to do it. So I think we're not as early as 2016 or 2018. But I would say it's less than 10% who have figured out a way of doing something, and that's particularly with advisors who we spend a lot of time with.
Less than 10%, interesting. So a lot of way to go. Are they looking at Bitcoin, or are they focused on other coins?
It's so interesting. It's so interesting that you asked that. I was just on the phone with an advisor in Southern California earlier. They manage a few $1 billion, and his clients have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they're asking about DeFi, and they're asking about specific NFTs, which have obviously taken the world by storm. So I think in 2021, the story is going beyond Bitcoin. I think for a lot of advisors and a lot of investors, they've been chewing on Bitcoin for a while, and they're now hearing about the world outside of that. And of course, crypto today is over a $2 trillion asset class, and over $1 trillion of that is things other than Bitcoin. So people are naturally very interested and hear a lot about it. And again, there's this advisor whose client is asking them if they owned any loot, which is a recent NFT phenomenon that you might be familiar with.
They're into NFTs. So wow, the very groundbreaking.
Well, so that's the thing. They're hearing about it. The client is asking, right? The client had a conversation with a friend, and then had their check-in with the advisor and brought it up. But the advisor doesn't own loot on behalf of the client. Is just yet another, I think, installment in the never-ending rainforest of things that traditional investors have to.
And Hunter, what kind of allocations are they making?
Yeah, we see I would say categorically two types of allocations. There's sort of the first ticket, like, all right, I'm going to test the waters. And that tends to be a very small, $25,000, $100,000 ticket. And that's sort of to see that everything works, get it on the screen. As people then journey in further, we work with over 250 firms today, I should mention, over 2,000 high net worth individuals, family offices. Of course, they're the publicly traded vehicles, BITW and BITQ, which anyone can own. But once they've sort of placed that first trade, we then see people winding up in the 1% to 10% range. And I would say most are really in the 1% to 3% range, with some who are choosing to concentrate more in the space.
And are they long-term holders, or do they get spooked by the volatility?
That's a great question. So again, we spend a huge amount of time. We do hundreds of calls, believe it or not, and have over 20 people focused on partnering with advisors, helping them understand the space, understand the landscape of ways they can invest in it, and then supporting the questions they get from clients. So we have a lot of questions that we answer, and I would say that they're generally very long-term oriented. So while they're hearing about news, while many people in crypto are trading, either professional traders or sort of trading as a hobby or for some amount of fun. The advisors and our clients tend to be very long-term oriented. We rarely see them, once they've decided to put the allocation in, we rarely see them take it off.
Long-term horizons. All right, Hunter, we'll end it there, but very much looking forward to your talk next week. Thanks for coming on the show in the meantime.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, that was Hunter Horsley, CEO of Bitwise Asset Management. Hunter is speaking next week at a special CoinDesk event, Bitcoin for advisors, of course. Join us on October 6th for this virtual experience, a chance to connect with over 300 investment advisors who are leading the way toward the future of investing. Financial advisors can register for free on our website at coindesk.com/events. And that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for First Mover in New York, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.